Yeah, here we go now, baby. Right back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Tuesday edition. Yeah, before you bet, baby, airing live right now on the Covers YouTube and X channels. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you smash that like and subscribe button right down there. So, oh, baby, we are running hot. The best show in show history yesterday. Myself, Jingles, and Metler combined to go 10-0 across the NFL, Monday Night Football, and the NBA. So absolutely flying high. I don't know if you heard, they are now calling me Mr. Monday Night around these parts. Over the last 4 Monday shows, my picks have gone 19-2. Absolutely outrageous. I don't know if I'll be able to keep that pace up, but I will try to do it. So we're off to a good start this season in the NBA. We will be talking NBA here tonight with Jon Metler. That will be in the second half of the show. We're going to start with the NFL. Professional sports bettor Hitman will be by here in a matter of seconds. If you guys want to participate in the show today, very easy to do so. Hit up that live chat on YouTube, on X. Let us know what you like in the NBA tonight. Let us know what you like in the NFL this week, and we will read a few of the responses off throughout the course of the show. Okay, let's talk some football. Let's go to our guy, pro sports bettor Hitman. They're calling me Mr. Monday Night now. Can you believe it, Hitman? Incredible stuff, right?
You had a better Monday night than I had. So I'm happy somebody at least won. I lost small on Monday night. Props were really good for me this week. Sides and totals was a losing week. So.
Yeah. I had a overall 500 week. On Sunday, I got reverse swept. The first time that's happened to me all season, but I made up for that on Monday Night Football. Had a little luck there too. Ferguson, the tight end for the Cowboys, I had under on his receiving yards, and of course he leaves the game with a concussion.
Yep.
Not really the way you want to win bets, but a win's a win, I guess. Luck goes both ways, and luck found me that way, I guess, right?
You bet unders, that's an out. The big thing with unders is it could be usage. A guy might not get as much usage. A guy might just have bad performance.
Blowout.
A guy could get injured. The game could be a blowout. There's a lot of outs typically when you're looking to bet unders. So you can't apologize if you lose, if you win it due to injury.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a mini recap here, then look into some futures and, of course, some best bets here for the week coming up. What are your 2 biggest takeaways or your biggest takeaway from the week that was here in the NFL?
Things are about to get very interesting for the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. I doubt that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to bring back Trevor Lawrence, especially now that they're in the driver's seat for that first pick. And I know that there's been rumors about possible surgery. He's not playing again this year. I'm pretty confident in that. The Giants not playing Drew Lock, a backup quarterback that they gave $5 million to. And obviously sitting Daniel Jones, yes, a lot of it has to do with performance, but I'm still confident Jones is the best quarterback in that room. It's mainly the fact that they're benching him is because of that they want to avoid a guaranteed salary for next season. And the Browns, Jameis is going to play this week, but do they end up going to DTR at some point? I know there was talk about it. I mean, DTR was the second string quarterback the game that Deshaun Watson got hurt against. I forgot who it was against. The Bengals, I believe, whatever. But yeah, things are about to get interesting. And remember, players do not tank, but organizations tank and make decisions
100%.
that do not give them the best chance to win in week 14, but it gives them the best chance to be good in the year 2025. So I'm very interested to see how bad some of these teams get. What about Dallas? Like Dallas right now, I think they have 3 wins, but do they get to a point where they're sitting guys? CeeDee Lamb's been banged up. Do they maybe shut him down at some point? Zach Martin's been banged up. Do they shut him down at one point? Things are about to get interesting for the first, second pick in the draft.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy looking like a sitting duck there. Shadur Sanders, a hot commodity. I don't know. I can kind of picture him in a New York Giants uniform. I think that would, be a good marriage, something kind of interesting.
What I could see, Joe, is I could just picture a lot of dramas coming for the draft, which when it comes to picking Shedeur Sanders or something, Dion is going to make it a point that certain teams are on the list, certain teams aren't on the list.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of drama this upcoming draft season.
Yeah, he's not going to the Cleveland Browns. So just to clarify something, you said Trevor Lawrence isn't coming back. You meant this season or to the Jaguars next season as a whole?
I think this season. Yeah,
okay.
Lawrence is not going to be back this year. I would guess next year. I mean, they just paid him.
Exactly.
So you're going to Lawrence in all likelihood next year.
Indeed. Okay, so let's take a look at some futures markets here. Let's start by talking offensive rookie of the year. Bo Nix, starting to get into this maybe. Do you think he's worth consideration for a bet here to win offensive rookie of the year? He's as high as plus 400. Jaden Daniels, of course, remains the favorite. The numbers from him statistically the past couple of weeks aren't going to blow anyone away. Back-to-back losses for them. Nix coming off a career best 307 touchdown game. You think Nix is worth a bet if you get him at a high number?
I'm probably going to pass. I just still don't believe that the supporting cast is there, to be honest, with Denver. I mean, they're one of the worst support. They do have Cortland Sutton, who's been playing well this year, but it's just not an explosive offense where Nix is going to put up big stats. And I know that he did against some bad defenses like the Falcons and everything. But you did see when they did step up in competition, whether it's Baltimore. I know Baltimore's defense isn't good, but they're a very good team. Denver got blown out. The Kansas City game, they could have won that game, but it's a game against a good defense where Nix did not have great counting stats. I just don't think the counting stats are going to be good enough. I guess that Denver would have to make the playoffs for him to even have a sniff of a chance. Jaden Daniels would really have to falter. Brock Bowers may be interesting. I mean, if both those two quarterbacks don't make the playoffs and don't play well down the stretch, I mean, Bowers is going to have historically great numbers for his position. Maybe he ends up getting consideration, but I think it's probably priced appropriately with Jaden Daniels right now.
Okay, one of the more interesting divisions in the NFL here as we approach the stretch run of the season, it's got to be the NFC West. I don't think a lot of people would have had the Cardinals being the first place team at this point of the season. So the Cardinals sit in first place at 6-4. Everyone else is 5-5. So my question to you is, if you needed to bet on a team to win this division, who are you going with? So odds, of course, vary by sportsbook, but Arizona, the favorite, minus 130, San Fran, plus 350, the Rams, plus 550, and Seattle, plus 600. Who would you be looking at if you were going to be placing a bet?
I like both those prices on the Rams and Seattle. What did you say Arizona was again?
Around minus 130.
Okay. I think that's aggressive right now. I mean, obviously they're one game up in the standings, but in my power ratings, I have Arizona just up smidge, and I'm talking a smidge behind the Rams and the Seattle right now. I know the market might disagree with Arizona being 1-point favorites at some spots in Seattle, but I kind of think Seattle's at least equal to them. I think that those teams are the two best bets right now. San Francisco, I'm a little bit worried about because of this Brock Purdy injury right now. I mean, I have no info that he's going to play, not play this week, what's up, but it's definitely concerning hearing about his throwing shoulder being a little bit banged up, and Nick Bosa, it does seem like, is going to miss some time as well. And just the injuries that they have on top of those guys are really bad right now. I think, I would go with the long shots. I would say the Rams and Seattle would be the two teams that I'd be interested.
Yeah, the 49ers schedule down the stretch here gets very, very difficult. So might be a bit of a lost season for San Francisco. Congrats to you. What was that you gave out earlier in the season? Under 11.5 wins. I think that was a bet you gave out for them like a month or two ago now. So
was it? Yeah, it was pretty early in the season. And I remember it was before they played some I think it was like Arizona or something. And someone was like, you should wait until after they play Arizona. And Arizona ended up winning that game outright in San Francisco. So, that's looking to be a good one. Unfortunately, last week, the Saints, we played them under season wins and we bet against them. And the line closed about 2.5 points better. And the Saints looked pretty good. But, that was a good one.
That's the way she goes sometimes. Okay, let's play a little game of a good bet or bad bet. This is something we kind of kicked around on the show yesterday. The Colts to make the playoffs. I'm seeing their odds as high as plus 200. And the reason I kind of want to highlight them, they're currently 8th in the AFC. So just on the outside now, a bit of a bubble team, if you want to call them that. But 4 of their 6 remaining games, New England, Tennessee, the New York Giants, and Jacksonville. So what do you think? Good bet, bad bet, Colts plus 200 to make the playoffs.
I'm a little bit higher on the Colts than some people. To be honest, I'm higher on Anthony Richardson than some people. And that's not me saying that Anthony Richardson is a good quarterback or going to even be a franchise quarterback or anything. But I just think that the Colts are a well-coached team. Their defense has gotten healthy and played a little bit better. I don't know, because I'm not as afraid of the team ahead of them, Denver, for the 7th seed, as I am the team right behind the Colts, which is Miami and Cincinnati, who, if these teams, I could see those teams getting to 9 and 8, like Miami or Cincinnati. So I'm going to say bad bet, but especially with the Colts playing Detroit this week, that's going to be a tough ask. But I do think the Colts are a little bit better than some people make them out today.
Breaking news, it looks like the Jets just fired Joe Douglas. I don't think anyone is,
Joe, I know you love a session where we rip the Jets, right? That's your favorite.
I come on here every Monday, and it's like I'm running out of stuff to talk about with the Jets here. They go to Arizona, they score 6 points.
I'll say this, like looking towards next year, I don't know how you would want to bring Aaron Rodgers back at this point. Like, you're going to go all in for a quarterback in his age 41 season next year where like he's not even like, what is he at best, an average starting NFL quarterback right now? And that's the guy that like you're going to say we are going all in for 1 year. Like, I think the Jets got to blow it up. And to me, it is one of the least desirable spots to be a head coach in the league next year, because for your first season, you're going to be at the balls of Aaron Rodgers. And then it becomes a total rebuild after that 1 year. Like, where even like if the Jets get a high pick and they draft a quarterback, like Rodgers isn't going to want that. He's going to want guys to win now. Like it's just a bad situation where I don't think it gets better.
Well, you can't truly start over again as the New York Jets until Aaron Rodgers is out of the building. Like, this whole thing has massively backfired. And I'm kind of wondering, do they have the balls to get him out of there, or at least say, hey, we're bringing in some competition, bud, to compete with you?
And it's amazing that Woody Johnson before the year said, this is the most talented roster that I've had in 20 years. Then what the hell are you firing the GM for in 10 games? If it's the most talented roster that somebody has accumulated for you. Like, if you were going to blame the coaching, then all right, blame the coaching. But you just said this is the best roster we have ever had. And that was including 2 teams that made the AFC Championship.
Yeah, the boy, what's his name? Nathaniel Hackett, still employed by the team, Do you guys think they sit Rodgers once they're eliminated from the playoffs? No, probably not.
I don't think Rodgers will let it happen. Again, we're talking about a team that's run by Aaron Rodgers, essentially. Like, I don't think that – I think he'd have too much pride. And like, we're not saying we're not quitting on the season. Like, I don't think they would set him.
Yeah, I think he might retire. I mean, he went into the whole stupid darkness retreat, that whole thing with when he was still a member of the Packers, to decide whether or not he was going to retire, and he decides to come back, and it just massively backfired. Go back to the injury last season. Now this season, my expectations were low for them. Most people expected them to get into the playoffs. They were the favorites to win the goddamn division. entering the season. This has gone much worse than anyone thought it would be. So, happy days for me as the guy going out touting Jets not to make the playoffs, plus 145 coming into the season. Very happy to see how things have unfolded here for the Jets. Okay, back to some non-Jets talk. Player prop markets will open up here, tomorrow and Thursday. Throughout the week, what's on your radar here for player props this week?
Monitor the weather for the Thursday night game. The numbers are pretty low right now. It's expected that the weather is not going to be great, but things could change. One thing I love about weather games is now it gets accounted for in the line way more than it used to. And like right now, again, these numbers are really low, but the weather could be better than expected. And then I'm looking to fire off overs in this game. So the weather is really going to impact, or the weather could be terrible and I'm going under some already low numbers. Like, it's a great game to just monitor the weather, and that's going to dictate where the props end up closing at. So I would monitor the weather this week in this Browns game.
Okay, Hitman, let's get into a couple of best bets here. This one has the potential to be a fun game, depending on what version of the LA Rams show up. A bit of a yo-yo roller coaster type of season for them. They're hosting the Eagles, total of 50.5, and you are on the under for this one.
Yeah, it's just my opinion that the Eagles have morphed into more of an under team, and there is some market disagreement in this one. This total's been bet up from the opener from 48 to 50.5 right now, but the Eagles are the run heaviest team in the NFL. They go on long, methodical drives where the clock runs. The one strength of the Rams defense is that they do have a pass rush, and Jalen Hurts is one of the more pressure-sensitive quarterbacks in the NFL. I could just see that this could be another run-heavy game plan for the Eagles, which is what they've been doing since the bye. And the other thing since the bye is that the Eagles' defense has been one of the best in the NFL. They now have really good corners that could match up with these Rams wideouts. The Rams wideouts are not exactly guys that threaten and destroy teams vertically, especially when in a tough matchup against Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and Darius Slay. So, I think that this total has been bet up a little too high, and I would look under 50.5.
Under 50.5 for that one. Okay, probably not a whole lot of people lining up to bet on the Dallas Cowboys after that performance last night and in recent weeks. You are one of the people lining up to bet them, though. A plus 10.5 point underdog at the Commanders. Why do you expect Dallas to at least keep this game from getting too out of hand?
I'm not looking to bet Dallas. I'm looking to just play a price, and it's against a team that's been struggling in recent weeks. Like, it was against two good defenses in the Steelers and the Eagles, but it's more of just a play against Washington laying a really, really, really big number. Are we sure that Jaden Daniels is 100%? He's still getting work on the sidelines with his ribs in between series. He hasn't been running the ball much at all. Has the league caught up to Cliff Kingsbury like they have in years past? Like, this has been a trend for him for years now, that once defenses get film on his offenses, he has had a hard time adjusting to the adjustments that defenses make. If Washington does get up in this game, how incentivized are they to let Jaden Daniels continue to be aggressive late in the game with the fact that he hasn't been 100% healthy with the ribs? Do they just take it a little bit, start maybe run the ball a little bit more, not run him as much towards the end? There's a lot of factors if you're asking a team like Washington to cover this big of a number. So, again, you can't say much about Dallas. Like, they're the second, third, fourth worst team in the NFL. Like, I'm not disputing that. It's just that at this price point, I think that's gotten a little too aggressive.
Indeed. Okay, let's go Cowboys, baby. All right, let's go Hitman as well. That does it for your appearance on today's show. Of course, you're going to be right back with us next Tuesday and every other Tuesday, right through the Super Bowl. So thanks for joining today. Best of luck with those bets and your handicapping the rest of the week, and we'll catch you next week.
See you soon, Joe.
See you, buddy. The man, right there. Okay, let's get into a little NBA Cup action. Good looking game going down in Boston tonight. The undefeated Cavaliers, oh my God, 15-0, putting it on the line against the defending champions. But first, I hate to do it, John. We got to start with the 76ers here again. They're like the NBA's version of the Jets for much different reasons. A very polarizing superstar. One thing that they have in common, and another thing that they have in common is that they're both awful. It's getting worse for the Sixers. So Embiid was doubtful all day yesterday. He ends up playing. He probably shouldn't have played, though, because Philly's 0-3 in games that he's played in this season. He's shooting 18.2% from the field, scoring most of his points at the free throw line. They're down to plus 255 not to make the playoffs. Now, we were discussing this, I think, last week or the week before, and it was plus 700. 76ers, you think they're going to be able to turn this around?
Well, while you were just talking to Hitman, Shams just released an article saying they had a player meeting. Kyle Lowry called it. There's obviously leaks inside of the 76ers organization as well.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's getting so much information, but Kyle Lowry called it, and Tyrese Maxey called out Joel Embiid for being late to team events, and he was the one who was on Joel Embiid. So that's kind of a big swing in like locker room dynamics, right? Because it was always like Embiid's like your MVP alpha, Tyrese Maxey works off of him, and now you have Tyrese Maxey calling out Joel Embiid. Kind of does feel like a changing of the guard a little bit. It says in there they're both friends, they're very close, they like to hold each other accountable, but I just not something you'd really expect. Like Tyrese Maxey's his fourth year in the NBA.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I honestly don't know. We're kind of touching this on yesterday with the win total. They're such a confusing team because if they get together and they get healthy, they're one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. But is that going to happen? And it's just like, are we going to see that? Like if they get into the play-in tournament and they actually have a healthy Embiid and Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain playing alongside Maxey and Paul George, they'll win games, but they're 2-11. like I don't know how to evaluate them.
They're way too big of a hole. Joel Embiid missing time and being injured. That's not new. It's not going to get better throughout the course of the season. Paul George being injured, missing time. That's not new either. So yeah, Philadelphia 76ers, an absolute joke. But I forgot to start the segment like this. Sweet boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we come for you, sweet boys? Johnny, we combined to go 5-0 on NBA? Last night, We've hit a couple of sweet boy nights here this season so far.
Yeah, and someone said their Embiid play well to hit over 4.5. I did actually have a bet on Embiid assists. We actually scrapped him from the show because he was doubtful. And like doubtful in the NBA and doubtful for Embiid basically means you're not playing. So we actually pulled him from the show, but he came through. See that someone hit a parlay there, 120-1. Awesome.
As we always say, make sure you parlay all of our picks from every show. Make sure, you probably shouldn't do that. Hopefully, Angelo is the one who did that. Hopefully, it's the first time he tuned in. And the first time he did it, that's not going to work out for you very often. We'll be transparent enough to say that we're not going to sweep every show, but off to a good start. I'm up to about plus 9 units on the season. I believe that was probably our third or fourth sweet boy show of the year already. So absolutely flying here. I love it. So let's fly into these picks and let's start in Boston with the Cavs. I have a pick on the spread for this one, and then you have a player prop. So we'll do it in that order. I'm going to take the underdog here, the Cavaliers, the undefeated 15-0 Cavs. I'm going to take them at plus 5.5. I think there's an excellent case at the very least they can keep this one close. Boston, I think, is getting way too much respect. I know they're the defending champions, but the Cavs 15-0 on the season. The last big game the Celtics had at home, they folded and lost versus the Warriors by 6. They also have losses at home to the Atlanta Hawks. The Raptors brought them to overtime in Boston. The Nets brought them to overtime in Boston. They have not been great. They haven't really even been good on their home court this season. Cleveland, meanwhile, they've been really good in big games this season. Yeah, they've beaten up on a lot of bad teams, but they're showing up for these big games. They won a game in New York against the Knicks earlier in the season. They destroyed the Lakers when LeBron and Bronny came to town, and they easily handled the Warriors when Golden State was running hot, and they came to Cleveland. They beat them pretty easily. And a big edge here, you dig into the stats, it's going to come into the paint here, or in the paint for the Cavs. They are 4th in points in the paint. The Celtics struggle to defend in closer, 27th in points allowed in the paint. So as I said, at the very least, I think the Cavs can keep this game close. You have a player prop at Evan Mobley. What do you like for him tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to Evan Mobley over 2.5 assists plus 110. So luckily he went under the last 4 games, which has tanked this price. It's dropped from 3.5 down to 2.5, 2.5 plus money, which is, a significant move there. He's an improved offensive player. He handles the ball. He gets to handle the ball on the perimeter quite a bit. A lot of dribble handoff actions with him. He also gets to push the ball and transition. This really just comes down to when you're talking about a matchup with the Celtics. One, his minutes are already pretty low throughout the regular season just because they keep blowing people out. But now you have NBA Cup. You have point differential at stake. You have a matchup with the Celtics. They want to obviously go 16-0 and do it against the Celtics. And this edge was at like 31 minutes for Mobley. That's not really high. That's about his season average. So when you're talking about that, and I think obviously he can stay on the floor because of the 2 bigs, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley plays like what he brings to the game is more important against the Celtics in my mind because you can go smaller. He can guard the perimeter and he can protect the rim still. So I just think he is a big part of what they'll need against the Celtics. And Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, they're going against Drew Holiday, Derek White. You're going to look for someone else to kind of, attack a matchup. And Mobley's speed against an Al Horford, I think that also plays. So I just think you could get more touches. 2.5 plus 110. I really like this one for Mobley.
Okay, next up, a rare collab bet. Maybe the first one ever in the history of us pairing up on the show here. John, the big game tonight that everyone is talking about, of course, the Charlotte Hornets are in Brooklyn to take on the Nets. And we both like the home team, but for different reasons. We kind of handicap a little bit differently. I'm going to go, we're both going with the Nets to cover the number here, -2.5 over at BetMGM. So check out Brooklyn performing very well after a loss. Their head coach has been playing hard. They are 6-1-1 ATS after a loss this season. They lost to the Knicks last time out. Also, just a great spread bet in general all season, 10-3-1 ATS. You look at the Hornets when they go on the road, it is not pretty. The lopsided losses are piling up for them on the road. They lost to the Cavs by 14. Orlando beat them by 25. The T-Wolves beat them by 21. That's all within their last 4 road games. It also includes an overtime loss to the 76ers, for God's sakes. And you check out the home-away offensive splits for these teams. Heavily favors Brooklyn. The Nets top 9 in EFG percentage, points per 100 possessions, and offensive rating at home. Hornets bottom 5 in all 3 of those categories when they hit the road. So small spread here. I like the Nets to cover it, and so do you, John. Tell us why you like them to take care of business here.
Yeah, also Nets. So I actually played this -3 last night, but it was even money. So not -2.5, -110 is pretty much the same price. So when you're looking at this from like a basketball standpoint, Charlotte Hornets, we've had this with some assist props. They don't have Mark Williams. They don't have Nick Richards. They have no size. Grant Williams is starting at center. That's kind of the preferred way the Nets play. They've been starting Ben Simmons at the 5. Nick Claxton is also out. So you have 2 like really small lineups going head to head here. I just think this plays better into the Nets' hand because I think they want to play this way. This is the style they're more comfortable playing, where the Hornets, they're just being forced into it. So, the Nets will always get their scoring from Cam Thomas. Cameron Johnson can shoot. But I think this unlocks like Ben Simmons on the interior, 6'10" against a 6'6" Grant Williams. You could get some offense there, which you don't really ever anticipate buckets from Ben Williams. And I also think Dennis Schroeder getting downhill when he can get into the lane, he should be able to finish. So it's like those 2. I feel like there's a lot of offensive options tonight for the Nets just because of the matchup and how small the Hornets are playing it. And the Hornets can't really attack them, their height on the other end. So 2.5, I thought this should be closer to like 5.5. So I'm hitting the button here.
All right, let's go Nets. Okay, my favorite total play of the night in the NBA. We're going to go to Dallas, where the Pelicans are in 10. And I'm going to take the under on the number here, 222.5. So check out these Pelicans games here lately. Oh my God, rock bottom scoring. Average combined score of just 201.4 in their last 5 games. Open up a bigger sample size. Last 10 games, New Orleans is 29th in both pace and points per game. What do you think that leads to? It leads to a lot of low-scoring games. Dallas at home, tremendous defensively. They rank 4th in the NBA in points per game allowed on their home court and 3rd in defensive rating at home. And both of these squads don't expect a whole lot of action from three-point land from these teams. Both really struggling, ice cold from the land beyond the arc here lately. 26th and 27th in three-point percentage over the last 5 games. So we'll go under 222.5 2.5 tonight in Dallas. Okay, John, bring it home for us. Final pick of the show, Desmond Bane. What are we looking at?
BYB points prop, Desmond Bane over 17.5 points, minus 120. So the Grizzlies just played the Nuggets on Sunday. Bane was more of a facilitator. He only scored 11 points, but that total on Sunday was 19.5. So this is now 17.5 because he went under on Sunday. So it's just reacting to that. And that opens the door to your edge here. It's why, I do like this prop, because one thing with Bane, so he was injured with the oblique. He came back, came off the bench, only played about like 28 minutes. Then on Sunday, he started. And I do think he was going to get up into like a 30, 32 minutes, but because it was a complete blowout, he only played 20 again. So I think this is sitting at a number where it's not really reflective of the minutes you expect Bane to play. It's kind of, you have an edge on this with like 28, 29 minutes, but I think he's starting. I think he's going to be like 32 minutes. So that just increases your edge. You don't necessarily need it because it's sitting at 17.5 with that 2-point drop, but I just don't think this is reflective of what his updated role is considering the oblique injury. So Desmond Bane over 17.5 points tonight.
Sweet boys. What you going to do? What you going to do when we come for you? Hopefully hit another sweep here tonight. Okay, to recap, we both like Nets minus 2.5. The first ever collab bet, I think, in the history of the show. John's going with Evan Mobley over 2.5 assists. Bane over 17.5 points. I like the Cavs game of the night in the NBA. Well, some would argue Hornets Nets is the game of the night, but maybe a close second. Cavs Celtics, and Pelicans Mavs under 222.5. And with that, John, it is time for lunch. I'm getting a little bit hungry here. A lot on the go this afternoon here. Covers meetings and whatnot. I won't bore anyone with that, but we're going to be right back with you guys tomorrow, hopefully celebrating another winning day. Can't guarantee another sweep, but we can guarantee our best effort to accomplish one. So right back with you guys tomorrow. John Middlecoff will be by for our weekly chat on everything going on in the NFL, some of his best bets as well. And of course, Jon Metler will be here. Good looking night, I think, in the NBA. Wednesday night, they haven't even looked ahead to the schedule. I'd imagine there's usually at least 10 games for tomorrow. So we'll get into that tomorrow. And with that, thank you to both guests for joining today. Thank you to producer Mick for producing the show today. Thank you to BetMGM. Make sure you check them out for all your sports betting needs. Thank you to all of our great viewers for tuning in, especially the guys and the gals in the live chat and the comment section after the show. Best of luck with your bets tonight, and we will catch you again tomorrow. Let's go Nets, baby. Woo!